What is up, guys? I'm Ken Chen. I'm gonna do some... Shut up. Today we're gonna test out some HQ props. And what do I mean by that? My man Zong at HQ Prop. He is freaking amazing. He sent me, I don't know, more than 180 bucks worth of props. 80 bags of props. You're amazing, Zong. I cannot thank you enough for this. So I decided, you know, using my pretty modest flying skills, I can give him, you know, produce a pretty decent quality prop review. Going to do a head-to-head comparison between this, the Ethix S3, the HQ OG 5x4.5x3 V1S. I call them OG just because they're 5-inch. All the new HQ props are moving towards 5.1. The 5.1 by 4.1 by 3 V1S. God, that's such a mouthful. I'm just gonna ignore their diameter from now on because their pitch numbers are still unique. So when I say 4.1 V1S, there's no other 4.1 V1S other than the 5141. So yeah. And then last but not least, 5.1 by 3.1 by 3. But we're not gonna fly this today because I flew it yesterday. And it's essentially the same prop as this. Why did I say essentially? Well, they're technically not the same prop. I'll get into that later because I don't want this intro to be too long. We're going to be testing it on Mr. Steel Edition Alien. See what I did there? It's his Edition Alien, but it's not his alien. It's one of the best flying machines I have ever got. This thing made me starting to hate all of my beta flight rigs, which all fly pretty well. Made me start hating on them and start throwing them out or giving them out to my friends. Let's go have some fun. Here we go again. Trying out this new mic. What is it called? Rode Micro. I think it's a phenomenal. Oh my God, solar flare. I think it's a really phenomenal mic. Gives me more room to edit with. Screw in this crossfire antenna slowly but surely. And yeah, I wish they designed the module bay to be a little bit further forward so that you can just put a 90-degree antenna like that. So when you hold the radio flat, you get this 90-degree antenna that goes on forever instead of having to hold it like this, which is super awkward. So first test, Ethix S3 props. But now I gotta take you off and put you into this, and we'll do more stuff later. So right now what we're gonna do is watch the paired flight footage with stick cam on this laptop, and I'll be putting on earbuds listening to what the stick cam was saying, and I'll give you also my overview after I've flown every one of them, and also you will get the information that I was outputting back speaking to the stick cam about my thoughts on first flying the prop and as well as comparing the props back to back. So you know what, let's just dive straight into it. First prop, Ethix S3 props. Here we go. Smooth takeoff. Try to do some low altitude cruising stuff.
Very fast, very responsive. Top wash handling is kind of eh.
Give it a little bit top speed.
Not bad.
And there we go, and that's my goggles were fogging up, so that's why I crashed. But let's use this opportunity to talk about what I first felt. The acceleration was huge. Like, it went from nothing to top speed in virtually no seconds. And also it's crazy responsive. When I was trying to do that low altitude hold cruising, oh my God, there we go again. When I was trying to do that low altitude cruising, it was hard. First of all, my throttle gimbal was very, very loose. Secondly, it was cold outside, my fingers were kind of jittery. And it is so responsive on a fully charged LiPo that any tiny inputs translates immediately into movement. And you can see there how many tricks I've pulled. Just look at it, and it's very responsive, doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was wrong on the bounce back stuff.
Really
I don't know what I was
stable,
saying.
I'm seeing that prop wash.
It definitely handles prop wash a little differently, but there is no bounce back whatsoever. Trying to do some low altitude cruising. It's a little easier. Now the battery is at like what, 15 volts? 14.6 volts maybe? And look at this. Now it's a little easier to do altitude hold cruising. But I don't dare going any lower because my fingers, I might start overreacting again. But just look at the amount of control that I have over this. It is so precise. It handles so well. It's crazy responsive. I don't know what to say. And the instantaneous thrust. You saw how I just pulled out of that. The instantaneous thrust. It's crazy. And now I see, if you point your quad at the correct angle to pull out a prop wash, you won't get prop wash. So yeah, it's more pilot stuff. Also, this quad is beat up very badly. For all 4 motors have crazy noisy bearings. I'm going to change them out at some point when my replacement bearings get here. But so far so good. We're getting now over 3 minutes and 30 seconds of flight time on one single battery, which is insane. And this is all high energy stuff. This isn't just cruising around. This is high energy stuff.
I'll let you guys know.
There we go. Next, 5 by 4.5 by 3 V1S. Immediately taking off, I can feel like the throttle curve is different.
First of all,
I'm holding the same altitude with more throttle. That doesn't mean that the prop is producing more thrust. And also, I'm seeing jello and mid-throttle oscillation. Oh, because this prop is more heavy, both in terms of pitch, drag, and mass. So the motor has trouble, you know, micro-adjusting it. The PID controller has trouble micro-adjusting. But it still looks just as, like, it's a, when I was flying, I can feel that it's a little less responsive, but I wouldn't call it less responsive. It's actually a good thing, so I would rather call it stable. Top speed, you see that? It's actually not that much different than the 3.1 V1S. Probably because this prop is sagging the battery a little bit more. So your motors are not spinning as fast, your prop is not reaching that RPM, therefore you're not really getting any more speed, even though you have a heavy air pitch prop.
Let's try this thing again.
But still, so precise. You can hear that, I need to retune my PIDs. So yeah, with this prop, you need to retune your PIDs. Because again, it's a very different prop. And it's not really suited for the Steel V2 motor, I wouldn't say. At least not a very, very noisy one. Or bashed up one. The rest is all good. Look at that. I can just cruise low altitude like that because the prop is more stable, less responsive. I can just hold at low altitude and it will ignore or dampen my like shaking fingers or whatever that's causing you to have like shaking stuff. But so far it still flies really crispy. It still flies really well. It handles very well. But I might just feel a little less response, a little less throttle control. Look at that. There you go. I crashed. Guess what? Because it's not the 3.1 V1S. It doesn't have that low end grunt, as I was mentioning. Again, I took off with more throttle value. So the throttle curve and the low end is not as much as that of the 3.1 V1S. Trying to hold myself in an orbit. This is just another way of measuring the handleness, like the handling and predictability of the prop. So now we're bringing in for a landing after this thing. Because the battery's probably toast. Lose some energy through some maneuvers. And we're done with this one. Now, next. 5.1, 4.1 V1S.
I have trouble holding this radio.
I do have trouble holding the X9D. It's just a little narrower than what I'm used to, the QX7. Yep, instantly on that takeoff, I used the same amount of throttle as I did on the 4.5 V1S, and I was lancing high. I was floating.
Get a little bit of wind.
Top speed? It's really smooth. This is a
fast.
really smooth prop. So far, no significant jello.
Altitude hold.
Actually, you know what? No jello. No mid-throttle oscillations.
Still a little bit more thrusty on the low end.
Thrusty on the low end.
4.5 V1S.
5.1 pitch prop do give you a lot of low end thrust.
Its responsive level is between the 3.1 and 4.5. Sorry, my finger kind of slipped over there.
Which is expected. 4.1 pitch in between. A good middle ground. But to be honest, looking at this footage, I wouldn't have told the difference between this and the 3.1 V1S. Looking at the video.
Certainly a lot of thrust, a lot of speed. The acceleration is pretty good too.
I guess it was when I was flying that I actually told the difference. This prop is also more tolerant of all kinds of PIDs. You can like hear and then also see there's no jello and I don't need extra TPA, which is really good because you know you need to be able to switch in between two props and not having to meddle with those PIDs. The wider range a prop can deal with a PID, then the wider amount of situations the prop can handle without generating oscillations on the same set of PIDs.
Let's try low altitude cruising a little bit.
And look at this. It has slightly less response than the 3.1 V1S. Makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it's just in between as
stuff.
I expected. 4.1 and 4.1 is exactly in between. That was scary. I forgot.
I actually saw a little bit of mid-throttle oscillation in there. Probably again because it has more drag, it has more mass, more rotating moment of inertia. Trying to pull a couple stunts, a couple Rubik's Cubes here and there to see what's up. These back-to-back tricks really test out how the prop handles in terms of response, acceleration, and also maybe a little bit of prop wash when you come out of it.
This battery is toast. Let's bring it in.
Yep, it is toast. And now we're gonna see the orbit, the handling. You can see how little I'm compensating on the sticks, I'm adjusting compared to when I was doing it with a 4.5 V1S. Which means this thing has a lot more control and you can corner harder with it, which is expected because of you have a lower pitch prop. So, conclusions. All of these props are great. I want to talk about these two first. 3.1 versus Ethix S3. They're essentially the same prop, as I said, but they're not. All of the new 5.1 inch props, they're all Popo compatible. The Ethix prop, not Popo compatible. It has a thinner hub, it has a narrower hub diameter because it doesn't need extra material to accommodate for the lost structural rigidity when you add in those 3 Popo holes. I mean, there is no Ethix motor that runs a Popo shaft, so there is no need for a Popo prop. That being said, these two props, when I was flying them, despite the tiny, probable minuscule difference in the hub weight, so I'm just gonna talk about this. This prop, amazing, absolutely mind-blowing. It handles tremendously well. It can corner super hard with this thing. The acceleration is amazing. You get from like cruising to full speed hammered down in like no time. You get that instantaneous thrust. That being said, The top speed, I realized it's slightly lacking a little bit. Probably isn't as fast because it's a 3.1 inch prop. That being said, if you run high KV, you will get away with that because you will spin this prop faster and you will get more thrust and more speed out of it. I don't know about the efficiency at that cost of that speed when you're trying to overspeed a prop than what it's supposed to. But I'm sure when you put this thing on high KV 4S or 6S, regular KV, whatever that thing is, this prop is perfect. You cannot find any single one fault with this prop when you do that. Next, 5 by 4.5 by 3. What is this prop doing? It's still a very solid choice prop that you can like put it on your race quad, go race and get first place, and then in the afternoon take it off and put it on your freestyle quad and fly like a god. This is that kind of well-rounded prop. But then now, the downside of this comparing to the 4.1 and the 3.1 is that it's too heavy and draggy. It's too heavily pitched. And as you see in the video, when you put this prop on, you need to retune your quad. Also notice this thing has a different throttle curve, probably because of the heavy pitch. So yeah, with the same amount of throttle, this thing is cruising low altitude, while the 4.1 or the 3.1 just floats up into the air super high. So throttle curve is slightly different. It sags your battery a little bit more. I'm pretty sure if you run a good battery and a N52 magnet 2306 or something like that, you'll get this prop to shine really, really well. But that is not what I run. So this prop, still a good choice, but be careful with what you use it in. Now, last but not least, the 4.1 V1S. This to me will be my go-to prop for well-rounded flying, all kinds of situations. I will use this, a prop that can handle all kinds of situations because I'm lazy. And also changing props is a pain in the butt when you don't have Popo. Popo is totally flying and brilliant in its own way, but I don't trust it enough, not at this moment. So this thing, crazy, brilliant prop. It has enough speed compared to this thing. It doesn't sag the battery as much. Similar type of response compared to this. This thing is, I believe, as fast of a response as you can get already. This is not far from this. I can tell a difference when I'm flying, but does it really matter? Is it really that significant? Well, all I'm saying is I'll be taking both of these props. I'll be taking both of these props when I go out to fly. This thing, I'll put on the quad first, go around and fly. This thing I'll put on when I'm used to. I've learned my environment. I've seen all the tree holes. I've seen all the playgrounds that I want to power loop. I see all the knife edges I want to do. I'll put on this because this gives me that slightly bit more control, and it also has less top speed, so you have more stuff to work with. But at beginning, when I get to a spot, I want to be cruising. I want to be just learning the spot in general, so I wouldn't be doing crazy things. So I want a more versatile and high speed prop. With that being said, all of these props are brilliant. So support Zon at HQ. He's absolutely killing it. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace. Alright, here we go. What is going on? I put my props on backwards. Wow.